call me Daddy Xarian from now on.
Nice. I didn't know if you were going to make a reference to that or not.
I mean, I thought I should.
Yeah.
Why not?
One of our friends called him Daddy Agasarian for no apparent reason.
Well, I thought he told you to call me that on the podcast.
I said I was going to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, now
they
you
said
can.
there was a new nickname for you.
I'm going to change my Instagram name to that.
I think that's a good idea, personally.
And then I got to change the profile picture to something like related to that.
Yeah.
Like me in a daddy pose or something. Which I don't know what that is.
Or just the picture I took of you.
Yeah. That's a good picture.
Which is a good one. Yeah.
I just forget.
Yeah. Well, I'm reminding you every time I see you now.
My picture on Instagram is from 2018.
Just like the account.
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't changed at all.
It's pretty cool. It's like a time capsule of high school.
Yeah, for the guy that didn't know anything about culture in high school.
Right.
About modern culture in high school.
Yeah, we got 2 works that are a little bit older today.
That's true. And I didn't realize that. When I saw that Discovery came out 2001, I was like, what?
Yes.
Excuse me?
I've provided something that is not from the 2010s or 2020s for the first time.
For the very first time.
Yes.
I wonder when we're going to break the 21st century.
I know. I was thinking about that. It's probably going to be a while because I do like modern music more generally. Yeah. I think I have an album from 2000, which technically is in the 20th century. So
wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's like the 10th. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't really count that. That's in the 21st century to me.
That's what I think too. It's the new millennium or whatever.
It's after Y2K. Like, that means something.
Yeah, but it is pre 9/11 and everything changed in 9/11, which you can make the argument the 21st century didn't even start until 9/11.
That's true. I can see that. Especially after airport security changed and you can just walk through and smoke on the plane.
Did you get your real ID yet?
No, I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't even care enough to get mine.
I've seen like those ads that are like, if you don't get it, you'll be arrested. And I'm like, okay, cool.
I have a passport with a picture of me from when I was like 13. So that's going to have to be good enough for the government.
That's probably expired if you got it when you're 13.
2028, I just checked.
Oh God.
I got some time.
How did it last so long?
Because I like somehow was able to renew it before I was 18, I think. And then it like just, I don't know, it kicked it down further, which is kind of fun.
I think mine expires like around the same time, but I got it recently, like several years ago. I think I got it during COVID. So it'll expire 2030. Damn. When we're 29, which is
2030.
Old. Yeah.
It's closer than you think.
5 years away.
Yeah.
10 years ago, less 2015.
Less than 5 years because we're into 2025.
We're already 4 months in.
So with that... Uncultured Pop Culture Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm the co-host this week.
This week?
No.
Why are you laughing already? What did I say it wrong?
I don't know.
Am I doing too much of a radio voice?
No. I just feel like every single time we start the podcast, we start it differently. Like,
do we?
Yeah. But
I don't know. I tried to copy yours from last week, or what I remember of yours from last week.
My brain just shuts off after some point in the day, so I don't remember what happened last week.
Yeah, you didn't introduce yourself yet, though.
Oh, yeah. My name is Daddy Agasarian. No, my name's David, here as usual.
Nice, and welcome back to another episode. We got some good ones for you this week.
Some, dare we say, classics. Well, yes. one of them is a classic.
One of them is definitely a classic, and one of them is a cult classic.
Exactly.
So,
good way of putting it.
We have the oldest album that we've done so far. And we have our first venture into EDM.
Yeah, which I'm very excited about to talk about.
I'm curious what you have to say because also I should probably start this off with, this is my first time listening to this album in full, like front to back. I know quite a few of these songs because I know Daft Punk and I've been a fan of them for a long time, but this is my first time actually sitting down with the album, which is kind of surprising.
I was going to say I'm very surprised.
I'm surprised at myself that I didn't listen to it sooner.
Have you heard any of their other albums in full?
Yeah. Random Access Memories, which was from 2013, that came out when I was actively in the EDM scene, so I listened to that a lot.
Right. I also didn't realize that they've only released 4 albums.
Yeah.
Or something like
4
that.
albums and the Tron soundtrack.
Well, yeah.
And then a live album, which is very good as well.
I thought they did more than one live album, to be honest.
I think technically they did, but Alive 2007 is like the one that's like...
That's known.
That's like a holy grail.
So,
but before we get into all of that...
What have you been listening to?
Okay, I guess I get to go first.
Intro, so you go first.
Yeah, I listened to a few things. Skrillex released an album. Do you know who that is?
No, but I know you've mentioned them before.
Okay.
On the
He's
podcast.
a dubstep producer. He released his last like contractually obligated album with Atlantic, and it's called Fuck You, Skrillex. You think you're Andy Warhol, but you're not. And it's interesting. It's weird because it's like not really an album. It's like a DJ set almost, but it was pretty enjoyable.
Do you feel like he just did it to get out of the...
Yeah, it was released on April Fool's Day as well.
Okay.
So, yeah,
but that kind of tracks.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to actually like listen to it, to sit down and dedicate the time to it. But yeah, I was impressed. It has songs from I think 2011 as far back as it goes, of like unreleased songs that he just like never finished and put on anything. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, but that was good. I listened to Jane Remover's album, which was one of the many albums that came out last Friday. Listened to that in full.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
I have no idea what that is again.
Yeah, hyperpop.
So it is kind of still alive, you would say?
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. She's one of the like pioneers of like changing the genre.
Yeah, evolving it.
Yeah, but I listened to that, and then also we are recording this on a Friday. You'll be able to figure out what a Friday it is when I tell you what album came out. I listened to at 9 p.m. Pacific last night. Bon Iver's new album, Sable Fable.
I saw like the news that it released. Yes. You know how Spotify sends you the little things.
I'm wearing salmon right now as well. Just kind
perfect.
Perfect for the album. It's a little bit more pink, I guess, but
I feel like the audience now can track when we're recording these. And they're like, why is there such a long time between when we release them?
Yeah, we'll catch up at some point. But yeah, anyway, the Bon Iver album I thought was good. It was not as good as 22 A Million. I gave it a 4 out of 5. But there's a lot of like solid tracks on there, and the EP, which came out last fall, which has been like rolled into the album, is still really good. Damn. So I recommend it.
I came across this article. You know how like Google will put up some articles on your phone?
Yeah.
And I didn't read it, but I saw it was like an interview with him, I think, where he was talking about the new album, but it like mentioned retiring. Yeah. Is he retiring?
I don't think so. Everybody like each album that comes out, he's like, this is the last album.
Yeah.
But it's
he's
just
one of those artists.
It's the last album for a long time. And it's never like explicitly, he's not like, I'm giving up on music. But like this album, it was 6 years since the last one came, almost 6 years since the last one came out. So like I'm just used to that, you know?
Yeah.
This may be the only album we get this decade. Hopefully not.
How many? There were 2 albums last decade or more?
3 actually.
Oh, that's actually quite a lot.
2011, 2016, 2019. But there's still space in between. The 2019 one, I was surprised that it came so soon.
Yeah.
But
that's interesting because I feel like Daft Punk, I looked into them obviously a little. They had like almost decades between each album.
Yeah, I think it was
kind of like one a decade almost.
97, 2001, 2004, 2013, I think were the ones. And then 2007 was the live album. 2010 was Tron.
Right.
And then after 2013, which was their last album, they did a few songs with The Weeknd. They produced a few like other songs. But they did some work on Kanye West.
Didn't they release one like 2019? Or am I just misremembering?
An album?
Yeah. Was it like an EP or something else?
No.
Really?
2013 was the last album, and then they broke up like 10 years later.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
I know.
But what have you been watching?
I saw one thing in the span of this last week.
Which I know what it is, and I think the audience knows what it is.
Probably. I saw a Minecraft movie. I think it should be called the Minecraft movie because it was the worst thing I've ever seen. I feel like when you go to see those movies, you're hopeful that, you know, it's enjoyable to watch it just because it's so bad. Like The Room or something.
Right. And which is what I was saying last week.
Yeah. And also because of the theater experience, I just got bored.
The theater experience wasn't as good?
The theater experience was like...
Were there kids throwing popcorn all over?
They weren't throwing popcorn. Okay. Thankfully. That I would have hated. No, like... There were people, you know, laughing at the references and saying along with, you know, all that stuff. But I just don't know Minecraft. Like, I'm sure that if I did know Minecraft, the theater experience would be awesome.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I think for me, I was just like, I'm just bored by this movie. It was boring.
Yeah. How long was it?
An hour and 40 minutes. And
that's not as long as I was thinking.
The thing is, like, it's one of those movies where the pace is so fast that it feels longer and shorter at the same time. Because literally the whole movie is, okay, we're here. We got to grab the thing. Oh, there's something in the way. Oh, wait, never mind. We got grab the thing. Okay, on to the next thing. That's literally the whole movie.
Yeah. There's no like time to relax. Yeah.
Well, not even that. Like every scene is just grab the thing and go, you know? Like there's no build really. There's no like development. I don't know. It's just, it was really bad. I give it half a star because I never want to rewatch it.
I would like to watch it at some point. I don't want to pay money to watch it though. So I probably will not.
I would say like the best part was definitely Jack Black.
I assumed.
Yeah, but that's, you know, it's not like this Jack Black like performance compares to any of his actual good performances. Like he's the best part of a bad movie, so that's not saying much, you know. It doesn't compare to like School of Rock or anything like that.
Yeah,
which we will have to watch.
Which I've never watched.
Yeah, we will have to watch because I do love that movie a lot.
Yeah, Jack Black was great in the one episode of Community he was in.
Oh, I didn't even realize he was in Community.
In one episode in the first season. Very good episode. That was one of the ones when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to love this show. And I do.
I should watch that show.
You absolutely should. Yeah. I hesitate saying it's the best written show of all time.
Yeah.
But it might be. I love it so much. That was the show that made me want to write for TV.
Yeah. Would you say like in that genre or in that style, it's the best written?
Potentially, because
that's the way I kind of think about it.
Yeah. You know? I mean, you could also argue the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development are the best TV show of all time.
That's true.
I don't know.
Which I also haven't seen, but I've seen clips and
very good.
It's like one of those shows where even a clip will tell you how good it is.
You have to watch the first 3 seasons, like actually though, because every single like joke is a reference to itself. It's insane. Like the writing that they did on that, it still doesn't make any sense how they did it. Like you had to plan out like every single thing that happens like years in advance.
That's honestly impressive. Crazy.
But with that, shall we dive into this week? All right. So this week we have Discovery by Daft Punk, which is regarded as one of the best EDM albums of all time.
Which is interesting because I read that when it came out, it kind of got mixed reviews.
EDM is hard because, I don't know, it's also not really an album genre. Like most genres of EDM, like subgenres, are not like albums, which is why it's been so hard to like start doing that because a lot of them are like, this is like the song.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And I feel like you can see that in the sense that, you know, you could take any one of these songs outside of the album and it like listen to it outside of the album and you're like, I don't need to listen to the other songs to understand it, you know?
Yeah. It can play in the club. So, which is the important thing. That's a big part of electronic dance music. I just have a very little bit of background. Daft Punk is from France.
Yep.
From Paris. There are 2 of them.
Paris.
Yes. I can't pronounce it. Okay, so...
Do you want me to try?
Thomas is one of them.
Right.
And Guiman is the other one. But his name is Portuguese. But I don't know how to say a Portuguese name in a French accent. Yeah, his like great-grandfather was like a survivor of a war in Portugal or something. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, now I kind of feel like I have to say their names.
You don't.
Okay. I'll get burned at the stake by the French.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to speak French, but
I can order a steak.
What?
In French. That's all I remember.
Wow.
Little tangent there for you, audience.
Nice. That's good. But yeah, so there's the 2 of them. They worked with a few like collaborators around Paris. This was also the album where they started using the helmets.
Right.
Apparently they didn't during Homework, which was their first album, but I also can't find any like media stuff from that time. I was looking for it.
Well, I know that, you know, they didn't want to show their face or anything.
They want the music to speak for itself.
Yeah, so I could imagine them, even if they didn't have the, you know, iconic helmets at that point, I could see them like covering their faces in other ways.
Right, and being like low-key.
Yeah, exactly. Which honestly respect.
They did not use the 808 or the 909, which are both Roland drum machines, very common in house. In 808 has been like co-opted to be like a bass sound in hip hop.
Right.
But 909 is very reminiscent of like 90s house, like Chicago house, which is kind of what they were doing with Homework. But this is a French house album. So
can I ask, what is the difference between house and EDM? Is there a difference?
Yes. EDM is the encompassing genre of like all kinds of electronic dance music. House is a subgenre of that, which has subgenres. House is typically in the like 120 to 130 range BPM. And it's generally 4 on the floor, which means there's a kick on every beat, essentially. There can be some variations with different forms of house, but that's generally what it is. And then each like subgenre of house has different like elements that make it what it is.
Right. So French house is very specific.
Right. Yeah. So Chicago house is much more like related to disco, and it developed off of that. Chicago is also one of the main, like, it's where house got its name from, the House Club in Chicago, which doesn't exist anymore. I think it was torn down, which, you know.
That tracks for anything in the United States.
Exactly.
That's like historical.
Yeah. And then you also had Detroit techno. So Chicago and Detroit were like the two big like centers of house at that point. And then from there we had French house.
You could say this is what country music is to the South.
Right.
House is to Midwest.
Yes, except nobody even cares about it anymore. And now it's way more popular in Europe.
Exactly.
But yes, house music started in the US.
Had its roots.
Yes. So French house is much more like sample based, and there's a lot more.
Like you can see here, right?
Right. There's a lot more filtering that goes on. EDM is hard for me to describe, like the different, like the various subgenres, because there'll just be like one thing that's slightly different. Yeah.
Especially to someone like me that doesn't really know those subtle differences.
Right. Yeah. What you have to know is this is a French house album, and it's regarded as probably the best French house album and like the best example.
Right.
French house was kind of developing in the late 90s. They were one of the first on the wave of it. By doing that style, they strayed away from the 808s and the 909s. They used a Lindrum, which is still used to this day, and it gives you that 80s sound.
I was going to say this album feels both modern and like it's from the 80s at the same time, which I think is really cool.
And the Lindrum is a big component in that because Oliver, who's a producer, has splice packs which have a bunch of just drum samples, and a lot of them are Lindrum samples that he's like made better, more modern and beefed up somewhat. But these are the original Lindrum samples that they used. They also used Drum Tracks Model 400, which I have not personally used before. And then they did some Rhodes and Wurlitzer electric pianos, which you can hear here, which those are 100%. Very like classic, but they're also modern.
Yeah.
And then they, of course, do their signature vocoders and auto-tune and make their voices all funky, which is what everybody likes about them. And this is a concept album. It's about childhood, is what they said.
I had no idea.
And their love of cinema, which I think...
That's perfect.
I think it actually works really well, because when I was listening to this, I was like, wow, it's very cinematic.
Yeah,
I think,
it is.
Which is one of the reasons I like electronic music so much, is because you're communicating all of this just through the music and not through any words or voice on most of these songs.
And I feel like, I can see now that that's where the title of the album came from too. Discovery.
And then I just have one little quote, which is from Thomas. And he says, "Homework was a way to say to the rock kids, electronic music is cool. Discovery was the opposite of saying to the electronic kids, rock is cool, you can like that."
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like this is kind of a good entry point into house music, into dance music for you, because rock, there's a lot of rock elements on here.
I feel you can see those influences a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Before we start, did you have anything you wanted to say about the album?
I kind of mentioned it before, but listening to this, it did feel modern and also like something from the 80s at the same time. I don't know, it kind of feels hard to place. And when I saw it came out in 2001, I was surprised, to be honest.
What did you think? Like,
I thought like 2010s, like early 2010s.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Did you know it came out in 2001 before you listened to it or after you listened to it?
After I listened to it.
After, okay, interesting. Because I was curious about it was the music itself that like gave you that.
Yeah, no, I saw that afterwards, because after I listened to it, I went through their discography and looked at all the different albums that they have released. And I saw that it came out in 2001. But I think that I personally feel like that adds to its sense of timelessness.
Very much. And like it both looks to the past, and then it also has influenced so much of the modern music that we listen to across like pop and dance music.
Yeah.
Like they're so influential.
I feel like you can feel its influence.
Yeah.
You know, even if you can't pinpoint, you know, the influences, you can feel it.
And before we get into the tracks, I want to ask you one thing. Have you ever heard Daft Punk's music, like outside of this? Right. And did you know the songs One More Time or Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger? Because those are both their like big songs.
Yeah. So aside from obviously hearing their movie in Tron Legacy, which I had seen before, I had actually heard Digital Love before.
Oh, really?
And it was in like one of my playlists on Spotify.
Interesting.
And that was a song I liked, and I knew it was from them. And then I obviously, everyone's heard Get Lucky.
Right.
But I didn't realize that was them.
Yeah.
I thought that was just Pharrell Williams.
Yeah. Pharrell.
Yeah. Sorry, Pharrell. Not like you're listening to this. But
hey, maybe he will one day.
Honestly, one day.
When we watch his Lego movie, which I've heard is like incredible. And I'm actually really very interested.
But yeah, so I have heard some of their songs before, some of their music before, but I feel like I just never really thought about it. Like I would be like, oh, Daft Punk, cool. And then I just move on. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I was really, obviously everyone knows who they are. And I know that they're really well respected. They're seen as like one of the greatest, EDM groups ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I'd ever really noticed them before or ever really paid attention to them, I guess.
Yeah,
before.
That's fair. It's also not a genre that you listen to. So, but I assumed that you had like heard of them though and knew they were robots, 100%. And because that's the whole thing. Yeah. That's what everybody knows is like, oh yeah, they're the robot guys. Yeah.
And I knew that they, I know about their reputation. I knew about that before I listened to it. And, I feel like it's kind of impossible not to know if you know anything about music.
Yeah. I feel like everybody knows Get Lucky. That was a huge song.
Yeah.
But, I feel like that's kind of most people's, like most regular people's introduction into them.
Well, I feel like when I say people know them in the sense of like, oh yeah, I've heard of Daft Punk.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of like all that I have ever known, but I didn't know like how like widespread kind of that knowledge was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say for me, a part of that could be the fact that I've always loved the soundtrack to Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
So I've had tracks from there in like my soundtrack playlist. So that could be a reason why I do know maybe a little bit more about them than like the average person.
Yeah,
and
but
like I know that they appear in the film, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, they
Spoiler
do.
Alert.
Yeah. It's cool.
Which we'll talk about.
I was like, oh my God, I had to rewind there. And it's like, oh my God, it's them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so first song is One More Time. This was one of the big hits of the album.
Right.
It's written by Thomas Guillemot and Rome Anthony, who sings. He wrote the lyrics.
I didn't notice.
And it samples More Spell on You by Eddie Johns, which I don't know anything about, but I listened, like, you go through on Who Sampled, great website, by the way, and you can
start following it.
Yeah, and you can see like the parts that they used and you can compare them, which is really fun. So that's where I got most of the sampling information on this one.
Right.
But yeah, this is one of their biggest songs. It's a huge influence.
Right.
Both in dance music and house music and in pop. And I think it really sets the tone for the album. And I do have a little anecdote about this song. I've heard of it before, but Google Play Music, which I used, and I used to buy music digitally. This is before I used like Spotify and stuff like that. They had it for free 1 week and I listened to it and I was like, ooh, I need to get this song. Yeah. And then this was like always on repeat. And this was like the song that I knew by them because it was free. And I was like, I can get it. I can own it. And then I can take it with me wherever I go. But yeah, so that was my like experience with this song. This was not the first song I had heard by them because I knew Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, and I knew Technologic from their 2004 album. I believe it is the year.
Right.
Human After All. But yeah, what did you think about this one?
I think this is the perfect opening to the album. So I gave it a 4, but I was kind of like, should I give it a 4 or 4.5? I'm still kind of stuck in the middle.
Interesting. I gave it a 3.5.
Really?
Yeah. You liked this one more than me.
That's interesting because, like you did have it on repeat.
Yeah, it is influential. There are other songs I think that are better on this album.
I do agree with that. But yeah, I think the beat in this song is absolutely insane. Like this is the type of beat that makes you just want to get up and start dancing.
Perfect club song. There's a reason it's huge, you know?
Oh yeah, exactly. I also wanted to say the vocal distortion in this song, and I kind of feel like overall the whole album, I don't dislike it as much as as the vocal distortion in 1,000 Gigs. Like this type of vocal distortion,
or even on some parts of 22 A Million.
Yeah. I feel like it fits the songs so well that it doesn't take me out of it.
We need to get you more EDM, and then you can come back to this other stuff, and I think you'll have an appreciation for it more.
Of course, like I know that even with something like 1,000 Gex where I didn't like it, there's still artistry there.
I am glad
but it worked better for me here.
I am glad that you enjoyed it, because I didn't really even think about that when listening to the album. I was just like, oh, we need to do some EDM because you need to know, like, you know, you need a foundational text. And I think this is the perfect, like you were saying, it's both modern and classic. I think it's the perfect like bridge into understanding like where we are.
100%.
But yeah, this one's a 3.5 for me. I do really love this song. But ultimately there are some songs I like more.
Which I do agree with. Like there are songs in this album that I also like more.
Like the next one. 4, I gave it, Aerodynamic. It's the second song. This one samples Il Maquillage Lady. I don't know, by Sister Sledge. And it also samples, you're going to like this one, single low-pitched clock tower bell toll with long ring off by the Hollywood Edge sound effects library.
Hell yeah. That should be in every single song.
It's listed as a song too, which I was like,
that's
on who sampled.
Crazy.
So funny. But yeah, what did you think about this one?
I also gave this one a 4.
Hell yeah.
And again, I was kind of stuck in like, should I give this a 4.5?
This has got some rock to it.
Yeah. Then when that electric guitar comes in.
Which I think is also a synthesizer, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah. I think all of the...
I can see that now that you say it.
I think the like guitar solos on this album are all synthesizers, which is cool.
That is pretty awesome, to be honest.
I like that.
And again, like same thing with the last song, that beat goes so hard. Like it
really does.
I feel like this whole album just makes you want to get up and start dancing, which is, you know, obviously that is French house, you know, like
that's the D in EDM, electronic dance music, because there is just electronic music, which is separate as well, and it doesn't have the. It's generally just called electronic, but yeah, I mean, you could call it EM. If you want. Yeah, M. EDM, the focus is definitely more on playing it in a club or at a festival of like, this is going to get somebody to move.
Is it also like mixing in the club? Does it involve that too?
When you're performing, the songs themselves don't necessarily, but there is an interesting thing which you'll notice on some like tracks, especially like the early 2010s, they would do this on Spotify as like the main version. There will be like a minute intro and outro of just the kick and like a little bit of a build up. So then you have that time to mix the songs together when you're DJing.
That's cool.
So there will be a lot of like extended versions that have these like parts that, so you can like merge the songs together essentially.
Yeah.
I also wrote down that I think this song Aerodynamic is a great night driving song, of which there are a few on here, but it goes so hard.
Yeah.
Really do love this one. Number 3, Digital Love. This is the one you knew.
This is the one I've heard of before.
I want to ask you how you found this, but I do want to do the credits real quick. So the lyrics are written by DJ Sneak, and it samples I Love You More by George Duke, who is also credited as a writer. And interestingly enough, the sample that like makes up this song is just from the beginning of the George Duke song before it even starts and like goes into the song, and then it never appears in that song again.
That's really
so they just like took this little part of it and built this whole song off of it,
which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I gotta say I love the name DJ Sneak.
DJ Sneak is good. Yeah, it's a very 90s 2000s name, which I love. Back when life was simple.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you think about this one, and how did you find it?
I think, honestly, I found this on one of your playlists, I feel like.
Interesting.
On Spotify.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah, I don't know which one, because I feel like I found it when you sent them to me. But yes, and I've had it in my playlist for like quite a while at this point. I like the song. I did give it a 3.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which I'm very interested to hear what score you gave it now. But
I think that'll give you a little bit of a hint.
Yeah, that you give it a higher score.
Correct.
Yeah. I like this song. I think... Again, you know, the beat does go hard.
Love the vocals in this one as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because even though I gave it a lower score than the 2 previous songs, this song feels like a 70s or 80s song, which you would think would make it, you know, a higher score on my side. But I think I just...
And you would also think it would make it lower on my side because I'm very like very like future forward,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, I think ultimately maybe it's because I've heard it before, but it just didn't hit as hard for me as these two songs. I do love like the little cutaway like music sections. You know what I mean?
Where they like bring it back and then you kind of build it back up again.
Yeah, those are my favorite parts of the song.
This song is my favorite on the album,
Oh, wow.
which you haven't said your favorite, so I assume it's coming up later.
Yeah,
okay, cool. This one is a 5 out of 5.
Ooh,
it was a 4.5, and I was like, no, it's just that good. This is everything I want in a house song, you know?
That's really interesting because I feel like we keep on having like alternating.
We do. I'm glad you like this song though.
No,
where
I
it's
do.
like, this isn't one where you're like 2.
Oh, no. This is a song that like, again, it's in my playlist, you know?
Yeah. I really like this one. It just hit for me. And I've always enjoyed this one since the first time I heard it. Then we move on to another one of the singles, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, which is track 4. This one
of the bigger songs.
Yes. Yeah. This one samples Cola Bottle Baby by Edwin Birdsong, and he's also credited as a writer. I wrote down the first thing on here, iconic. Everybody knows this song, and if you don't know it, you know the Kanye West song that samples it.
Yeah. I feel like I knew about the song even though I never heard it
exactly
before.
This is like the Daft Punk song. Like I feel like when I tell people about Daft Punk, this is the song. If they know who they are, if they know a song by them, I should say.
Yeah.
They know a song by them, they're like, oh yeah, the robot people, the Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. Yeah. What did you think? So, hearing it for the first time now.
I will say this like little section of the album had more 3.5, so this was a 3.5.
Okay, does that mean like there's songs that are higher later? Is that what you mean? Okay,
no, just
I didn't know if you
section.
meant like it was
no
the best part or the worst part. Okay,
no, I just feel like there was like a little
lull for you.
Yeah. Which is like, it's still 3.5, so it's still like, I still like these songs. Again, I think the beat just didn't grab me as much as the other songs, and I did find like the repetition of the lyrics a little repetitive, but I do still, obviously like it, and I thought it was a very interesting mix of vocals and beats and music and all that. And I think like when the lyrics came in, like that wasn't just saying better, faster, stronger, etc.
Yeah.
I feel like that part is where it kind of picked up for me.
That's what I like. And I'm curious to hear about what you thought about that, because that is definitely more of a dance music thing where it takes a long time to get to like the part that is like really good. But I like that. I like the journey of like building up.
No, I can definitely see that. And I can see how, during the build up, you're on the dance floor and, it works. I think maybe just listening to it.
Yeah.
It felt a little drawn out for me personally.
Yeah.
But
fair.
it's also like, I don't hate it. It's still really fun.
I said when all the lyrics get going together, it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the syncopated part as well has always been my favorite. When it when they're just like moving everything off the grid.
Yeah.
Like the actual grid of like whatever they're using, I would assume Pro Tools.
Building up to that, it does give it a bigger effect.
Yeah. Probably. This one's a 4 for me, by the way. I do really like this song, and there's a reason it's one of their like big ones, and there's a reason that Kanye West sampled it.
Yeah.
Which that was the one I had heard before, and when I heard that he sampled it, I was like, why isn't Daft Punk credited?
Yeah.
And that started my journey with being like, wow, I really am curious about the other people who have contributed to this song.
All thanks to Kanye West.
Yeah, so shout out Edwin Birdsong, who provided basically like the backing of this, which is really interesting. Track 5, we have Crescendos. This one's a 3.5 for me. I assume it's also, Also credited as writers on this song, along with the 2 Daft Punk members, are Dwight Brewster and Alita Jennings, who I assume are from the sample, but I don't know for sure. I could not find who wrote the song that they sampled, which is Can You Imagine by the Imperials. It's from like 1956 or something like that. It's like a super old funk soul song, kind of. I really love the sample in this one. And I said it's a great French house song. But we also have the most obvious use of the Linn drum. The beat that starts right away, that's the Linn drum.
Yeah.
And those are like the sounds.
It gives it the older feel kind of.
Yeah, it gives it the older feel, but also the modern feel at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's coming back.
That's really interesting because I feel, to me, this song was the most, let's just have fun and just dance. And yeah. Which maybe that is part of the effect of the Linn drum.
I mean, potentially, yeah. It has a very like iconic sound.
That's kind of what I took from it. It's just like, let's have fun and dance and mess around, you know?
Yeah, I enjoy this one. There's not as much to say. There's no like lyrics in this one necessarily, but it's just a good French house song, of which there are many on this album.
Yeah.
Which moves us on to the kind of like interlude, Night Vision, track 6. I gave this one a 3.5.
I gave this one a 4.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. I said it's a nice interlude that's kind of like elevator music for a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah, I'm like, this feels like a little, not a break, but a little calm section in the album. Like, this is the part where you go get a drink, catch your breath.
Yes.
And, you know,
but
at the club.
It perfectly fits with like everything else in the album. I really do love this.
It doesn't feel like it slows it down or takes you out of it. It still feels like
it uses the same like ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very like R&B kind of in a way, but it's still like electronic. It's a down tempo is what it's called or classified as, which is a separate genre. Which you'll learn. There's so much.
I'm gonna know about all these one day.
Yeah, exactly. We'll listen to some down tempo someday. Some good stuff. It's very chill. That's less on the EDM side and more on the electronic side, where you don't dance to it. You just put it on, and it's nice.
You can see in this song. I feel like
for sure. Yeah. And that song kind of like moves us into the next song, Superheroes, track 7. This one samples "Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed" by Barry Manilow. Written by Barry Manilow and Marty Panzer, who are also credited as writers on this track.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah, Barry Manilow. Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him.
Nice.
I don't think I've heard much of his music, but
I've heard a few songs. I have not heard this song, "Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed," which is an interesting title for an old song. This one, I said, is a great movie soundtrack song.
Yeah.
This was one of the songs where I could be like, oh yeah, I can see the Tron people being like, this is what we want from you, 100%. You know? This one's a 3.5 for me.
So I think maybe because it fits so much into movies, this is a 4.5 for me.
This is your favorite?
No.
Ooh,
actually,
okay.
This is not my favorite. We'll get there soon. I wrote down, I feel like you can, even when you're just listening to it at home, you can like feel how the song vibrates through the club, which I really love.
Yeah.
And then when the vocals come in, that's just like the chef's kiss of the song for me. This is probably the best straight like dance song of the album. For me, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say it's the best, but it's definitely up there.
Track 8 is High Life, which this is another French house song. This one samples Breakdown for Love by Tavares, I assume is how you pronounce it. This one's also a 3.5 for me.
3.5 for me too.
Yeah. Not really much else to say about this song other than it's a good French house song.
Yeah.
So if you like French house.
Exactly. Go listen to the song.
Yeah. Number 9 is Something About Us. This is a loungy. This is a down-tempo song.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of R&B.
I was going to say it also kind of reminds me of reggae a little.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe I'm just mixing it up.
I mean,
but I can also see R&B. Because I think it kind of reminded me of, you know, like Sade or an artist like that.
Yeah, that's definitely R&B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, R&B, but I also feel like some of her songs are reggae.
I don't know. I don't know her music as well. But
maybe I think that's where I got it from. So maybe I was just thinking of R&B. But in any case, it is like what you said, a down tempo. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, down tempo is the genre. I really love this one. This one's a 4 for me.
Yeah, 4 for me too.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. I'm very curious to see what your favorite song is going to be because we don't have as many left.
We're getting there.
We're getting towards the end here.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I do really love that song. That one, I don't know if it was released as a single, but it has like 200 million streams.
So it's
Spotify,
one of the more popular ones.
It's definitely more popular. Yeah. I can see why. This one is the most like different, I think, out of all the other songs, but it fits so well on the album.
Yeah, which I think is a testament to their skill as songwriters.
They know their style and they know how to make something in their style, which I really, you appreciate when you're listening to a dance album. Number 10 is Voyager. This one is a 4 for me.
Also 4 for me.
I wrote down it has a great bass and a great arpeggio towards the end.
Yeah.
And it's a very like sci-fi. This is the other song that I was like, this is a Tron song.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I wrote down that I love the build on this song. I also said that it kind of feels like a dance song, but not a dance song at the same time.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
I can definitely see that because it's a little bit chill in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I could totally see this as a sci-fi soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next we have Veridis Quo, I think is how you say it. I believe that's Latin. This one is a 4 for me.
This one is a 5. This is my favorite song.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
This one is instrumental.
I know.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like the moment this one started to play, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then the more it played, I was like, wow, this is the best song on the album. I sent it to Jennifer. I like put it on repeat. I love the song.
Wow. Yeah. I'm surprised because I also do really like this song. So I was thinking it was going to be one of the ones where I was like,
we're split on it.
Yeah.
No, I really love this song. I love the vibes of it. I like literally when I was listening to it, I was thinking about how this is the type of song that I would put on a speaker at my house, just put it on while I'm like cooking or something. Like this is that type of song where you can just play it in whatever environment and it just works.
Nice.
For me. So yeah, I absolutely love this song.
That's cool. Sure. I was not expecting that one as your favorite.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah. No, yeah. Definitely favorite song from this album. And I think only the second 5 I've given so far on this podcast, right?
Is it? It
First
might be.
or second.
So interestingly enough, this song, as well as Something About Us, Voyager, and Short Circuit, don't have any samples listed. But there was a time when somebody like found a sample and they were like, oh my God, this is a song that Daft Punk sampled.
Right.
And nobody had known what it was. So there's a part of me that thinks like maybe some of this stuff is like from something
so
that
obscure.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Which, is also a testament to how like their crate digging abilities, How
much they know about music to be able to find samples like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that brings us to Short Circuit, which is track 12. This one is a 3.5 for me.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, we went from my favorite song to my least favorite in the album.
I figured.
This one's a 3 for me.
Yeah, this one is weirdly like controversial to a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, this one is like the song that people don't really like.
I can kind of see that though. Like for me,
I think it's cool.
For me, I think it just felt like too much.
That's fair. You didn't like the bit crusher at the end. Which I don't know. This is definitely not the first use of the bit crusher, like to demolish a song and like make it fall apart. But this is probably like this is the first one that I've heard, or the oldest one that I've heard. I guess I should say.
I feel like for me it was kind of just like
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the beat just didn't work that well for me either. I kind of felt like it was too loud, to be honest.
Interesting.
Like it kind of overtook the song. I don't know.
Then we have track 13, second to last song. This is the one that I had alluded to before we started recording. This one is written with Todd Edwards, who provides the vocals on this song. This one samples a song that I'm sure you know called Evil Woman by Electric Light Orchestra.
Yep. Definitely heard that song before.
Yep. Did you hear the sample in the song?
No, I don't think I really noticed it.
Once I listened back to Evil Woman, I was like, oh my God, I hear it. It's the guitar that's like the that's like kind of like makes up like the driving part of the song.
I think I need to just listen to Evil Woman again to like notice it.
The interesting thing is though, this one samples 19 other songs.
What?
Yes. I was
19.
So 20 songs total that we know of. So I was thinking about reading them all here, but I'm not going to. But I will list a few artists that have multiple songs that they sampled on here. Kenny Loggins and Jim Messina have multiple songs.
Damn, that's pretty.
Including
pretty cool.
The song, I don't remember what it's called. It's about Winnie the Pooh, though, which I'm sure you've heard. I know it. It's from like the 60s. It was recorded by a bunch of different bands.
I probably heard it. I don't remember that.
That's in there. And that's like that's part of the vocal thing where it's like, like in the background. Also has multiple songs by the Alan Parsons Project.
Yeah.
Which, do you know the Alan Parsons Project?
That name sounds very familiar. Are they also an older?
Yeah. My dad has showed me a lot of their music, and that's one of the bands where I'm like, this is really good. Like, it's so forward thinking. And there's another song by the Avalanches, who's a great, like, the genre is called Plunderphonics. It's where they sample a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But they have a song where they sampled the Alan Parsons Project, and I had known the Alan Parsons Project song from my dad, and I was like, wow, that's really cool.
That's really cool.
But this song has multiple Alan Parsons songs in here. There are multiple samples of Electric Light Orchestra.
Right.
And Dan Fogelberg and Tim Weisberg have multiple collaborations that Daft Punk sampled on here.
Which also sounds familiar to me.
Yes, I have heard a few songs by Dan Fogelberg. I don't know what they are, but I know that name, and I know I've heard some.
I will say I think I might just be mixing it up with the actor Dan Fogel.
Yeah, I mean...
which I don't know.
Yeah, but I wrote down on here, I'm not even sure how someone could come up with this. The amount of different things that are going on, and to do this in what was probably 1999 or 2000 with like not the gear that you have now is crazy.
Yeah. Knowing that there are that many songs in this is just kind of mind blowing.
Right.
Like, it's like a collage of songs almost.
Exactly. Yeah. Which when I got to this song, I was kind of like, okay, there's probably some other samples on here that nobody knows about yet, because to find 20 samples on one song is insane. But
it's interesting that it is kind of a collage, because I feel like this is, out of this whole album, it's the most, typical song in the sense of like lyrics and, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It feels less like an EDM song and more of a traditional song, which is kind of crazy knowing that they sampled so much. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, it's got like a rock edge to it.
Exactly.
But if you sample 20 rock songs, maybe that's how it,
No, to me, it straight up felt like a rock pop song almost. Which was really interesting.
What did you rate this one? This is a 3.5 for me.
I also gave it a 3.5.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is really good. This one I feel like has the most potential for me to really like, it'll click and I'll be like, okay, like this might be a 4.5. I could see that.
I agree with that. And I feel like a part of that for me is the fact that they sampled so many songs.
Yeah.
I want to go back and listen to it and think about that as I'm listening to it.
There's so many sounds in here that, you can only get by taking another recording and then putting it with something else, which is like, it's 100%. Just crazy. This is one of the ones where I was like, when I saw the 20 samples, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be them, It's just,
exactly, yeah.
But I'd love to see a breakdown. I don't know if anyone's done a breakdown of the samples in this song. But
that'd be pretty cool, because there are those YouTube channels that
Tracklib is one that does it a lot of times. And they've done some other,
are really fun. I like those channels.
So we'll look for that after this, because I'm really curious. I want to see how it came together.
If you find it, send it to me.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last song that we have on here, which is Too Long.
Too Long.
This is 10 minutes long.
Yep.
Some would say it's too long. This one is written with Rome Anthony, who also does the vocals, just like the first song. And it samples First Come, First Serve by Rose Royce, Running Away by Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, and One Cold Vibe, Couldn't Stop Dis Yo Boogie by Third World.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't stop Dis Yo Boogie.
Exactly. What'd you think about this one? Is it too long?
It's not too long. I gave it a 4.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
This is what I was thinking when you said your favorite song's coming up, because this one's a 3 for me. Yeah. It is slightly too long for me, but I do enjoy it. It's a good song.
I will say I was joking. Like, it is long.
It is long.
It's one of those songs where you're like, I don't have to listen to the end.
Right.
That being said, I just think it's a really interesting song.
It's fun and it's a good closer.
Repetition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said it was also interesting, aside from the fact that it just does continue, just like the last song, to me, it feels like a more traditional song in some ways. In some portions of it. Obviously, like not all of it, because, a large section of the song is just them repeating too long. That's not. Yeah. But for some sections of it, it kind of felt like a more traditional, poppy rock song or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great ending to the album.
I agree. And it's cool to have Rome Anthony on the first and last tracks, which is cool.
A little bookend.
And his voice is like normal on this one too. Yeah. It's not like all super processed.
I found it interesting how the fact that they, kind of have this song continuing on with the too longs and all that. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of how a lot of rock songs will continue the chorus at the end and then fade it out.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's another reason it reminded me of like a rock song.
Now that you say that, I could totally see them doing that, of making this like the rock album,
Yeah.
But
I could see that. But yeah, overall, great end to the album.
Yeah. What did you rate the album overall? I'm curious.
I believe that this is my highest score. I gave it a 4.5.
Okay.
I believe that it's my highest score so far.
I also did a 4.5 on this one. It's great. I mean, it's so...
Yeah.
It's great. It's just, that's all I can say,
It works so well.
If you have a long drive at night, I think this album is perfect for that as well. I think that's one of my favorite like moods of music is like night driving songs. And there's so many on here. There's just a lot of great music.
Oh yeah. And at this point, like I want to go to the club and dance to these songs.
Yeah.
100%. This is my favorite album. Let's just say that, so far.
Nice.
Because
that's I'm so glad because I was hoping you'd really like enjoy dance music.
I did really love this.
It's all downhill from here, unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. There's other great stuff, but like this is there's a reason this is like one of the best dance music albums of all time.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Jennifer told me before I listened to it, she said, I think you're going to like Daft Punk. So, I'm not surprised I like it because I do like dance pop, for instance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you like Troye Sivan.
Yeah, I like Troye Sivan, Dua Lipa, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I feel like obviously this is different because it is electronic music, but you know, in the same sense that I like dance pop, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I would like EDM too. And yeah, it's great.
So
and
French house is a win for you.
Hell yeah.
Which is good.
And Daft Punk is 100% a win for me.
Yeah. The good news is they've got 3 other great albums
that we got to listen to. Yeah. For the next Tron movies.
No, right. Yeah. For Tron Ares or whatever it is. With Jared Leto.
We'll be talking about that a little.
Yeah. Will we'll listen to 30 Seconds to Mars for that one though, obviously.
Yeah.
Jared Leto's band.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
just found that right now, but yeah.
I figured I totally because you didn't react the way I thought you would. So.
I totally knew that. Yeah.
But yeah, this one's a 4.5 for me as well. I don't know what else I can say other than love dance music.
Oh yeah.
Love EDM, love French house, love house. House is like, that's my main genre, in like under EDM. That's what I grew up listening to. Obviously different subgenres of house, but like I love a good 4 on the floor kick. I love a 128 BPM. You know, what can I say?
Is house what you mainly write or no?
No, I do pop. But there's influences for sure.
House too, though.
Yeah, I wrote a house song last month. So we'll see.
Hopefully we'll all hear it one day.
I hope so. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
And I did sample on that song, but it was from Splice. But that was my first time doing it because I'm very. For me personally, I'm very like anti-samples because I like to control the melody.
Yeah.
But like I don't have a general like hatred of samples in general.
Just for like your my own music.
Yeah, for my own personal like creativity. I like to be the one sitting at the keyboard playing like the thing and being like, this is it. This is what I wanted to hear, you know? But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great samples on here. There's a very like interesting link between Daft Punk and hip hop because they helped produce Yeezus.
Right.
And
which I didn't realize how many albums they've helped produce.
Yeah, it's not a ton, but they've done.
Well, yeah, but I feel like it's more than I had realized.
Yeah, they've definitely done more things than just like their own stuff.
Yeah.
But also, I can't believe we've made it this far without mentioning that there is a movie of this album called Interstellar 555, or maybe there's 4
we gotta watch that.
It's an anime.
Yeah.
From like 2003.
That sounds pretty awesome. I've been getting into anime more so.
There's no dialogue. It's just the entire album like set to the movie.
Cool. That's kind of like The Wall with Pink Floyd or something like that.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'd really want to watch that.
I didn't realize that existed until I was like listening to the album and doing research, and I was like, shit, we should have done that.
I know.
But Tron.
Which
we should get into.
Let's get into it. Let's get into Tron Legacy.
Tron Legacy.
It's important to make that distinction.
Yes, not the first one, which I didn't know there was a first one. I'm sorry.
I should have mentioned that probably to you before, but I don't know, we'll talk about it a little bit today. But yeah, let's get into the credits first. IMDb logline first. The son of a computer programmer goes looking for his father and ends up inside the digital world that his father designed. He meets his father's corrupted creation and a unique ally who was born inside the digital world. I feel like that kind of spoils. Directed by Joseph Kosinski, who's now kind of well known for a lot of his collaborations with Tom Cruise. He did Top Gun Maverick. He did, a bunch of, he's like known for a lot of like action movie stuff like that, and like well respected for being really good at directing those movies.
Yeah, I had never heard of him.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him until recently. Like I had obviously seen his films before, but I just didn't know of him. Produced by Sean Bailey, Jeffrey Silver, and Steven Lisberger. For the written by, it was written by Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz, who are like a writing team. But the story is by Kitsis, Horowitz, and Brian Klugman and Lee Sternthal. Cinematography by Claudio Miranda, who I had actually never heard about before, but he did the cinematography for Life of Pi. So for the visual effects, which is obviously a big part of this.
Big part.
I read that there were up to 10 effects companies working on this movie, but the majority was done by Digital Domain, which is one of the big companies. Although I remember hearing about them going bankrupt at some point. I think they're still working. I just don't know, how big they are now. Music, obviously, by Daft Punk. Edited by James Haygood. Before I get in, did you recognize anyone at all from this cast? Have you seen any of?
Yes. Yeah. I thought it was Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that dude sounds like the Big Lebowski guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so that's what I knew.
kind of comes through because several times he says man or dude.
Yeah, he goes like man, and he goes like
Lebowski.
I thought he said like radical at one point too, and I was like,
I think so.
Are you just him? Like, I don't know.
I know. I think after that role, he just became.
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously Jeff Bridges as both Kevin Flynn and Clue.
And the de-aged.
De-aged
which
Clue,
was interesting.
Which we'll talk about a little bit. Garrett Hedlund as Sam Flynn.
Who I had never heard of and did not know. He has a very generic white boy face.
Yeah. This was arguably his biggest, movie in his whole career. I know he's still working, he's still in stuff, but it's kind of more, indie movies and like smaller movies, I would say. Olivia Wilde.
Yes, did not know who she was really.
Yeah. She's very controversial now.
Why? Also, do you know her real name?
No, what's her real name?
Her last name is Coburn, but it's spelled C-O-C-K Burn.
Oh, wow.
And like everybody in her family is a journalist or a writer. Yeah, I looked it up because I was like, I feel like I should know who she is, and I don't. So she was on House as well, which I did not realize. I have not watched that, but I really want to. I
haven't seen it either, but I've heard it's really good.
It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's become more controversial. She still acts, but she mostly directs, I feel like. And her last film that she directed that has been released, that she might be directing something now, that was Don't Worry, Darling, which I don't know if you know the controversies behind that film. Pretty much there were controversies between her and Shia LaBeouf, and then her and Florence Pugh, and it was like a whole thing. I personally don't know exactly why she's so controversial. Like, I don't know the details, but I do know that she is controversial now.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the supporting cast, Bruce Boxleitner.
Boxleitner, I think.
Boxleitner.
Pretty sure. Who sounds like a dude from Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's from Illinois also.
Yeah, who also appears in the first film.
Yes. He looked really familiar to me, but I've never seen him in anything.
Maybe you've seen the first film.
I have not. I can guarantee it. I didn't know there was a first film. James
Frain. Michael Sheen, who plays the club owner.
I thought he was related to Charlie Sheen when I saw his name, but he isn't. He's Welsh.
He's Welsh.
Yeah.
And he steals the whole freaking movie.
Shout out Wales, by the way.
Hell yeah, shout out Wales. And then Beau Garrett as one of the sirens, the main siren. I also just was reminded by Brandon that one of our friends is friends with the person that played the kid version of Sam.
I don't know if they're still actively friends. I just know they know each other.
Yeah, they know each other pretty much.
So there's our Hollywood connection.
Exactly. That's how we're going to all break in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's talk about the original, which means we got to talk about Steven Lisberger, who kind of brought, this world into being. He was influenced by Pong, the video game, to create a movie about video games pretty much. And it was released 1982, one of the first movies to use a lot of computer animation, which, if you watch it now, it is dated, but it was still considered revolutionary for its time.
Was it produced by Disney?
Yes.
Okay, so it's produced and released by Disney, just like this one?
Well, I believe it was produced by Disney. But yeah, it kind of mixed computer animation and older effects, practical effects. It also used something called backlit animation. Now, I tried to look into this. It's very complicated. I don't really know the process, but if you want to look into it more, check it out, because it does seem very very interesting. And even though this film was a bomb at the box office, and it was well received, and it's become the cult classic that it is today. Now, I've seen this film.
The original.
Yeah. I watched it as a kid. I did like a movie night with some friends, and we watched the first and the second. I remember it being very boring.
Okay.
I was a kid though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Pretty
much the whole story, just to give you some background, is Kevin Flynn, he is brought into this world where he helps TRON, this video game program, he pretty much helps TRON to defeat the computer system. Like, it's like kind of the AI of this world, and they pretty much save Encom, the company, from being overrun, and then obviously Kevin Flynn takes it over, and that leads us into the second film. But yeah, it became a cult classic. It influenced a lot of people, including Daft Punk, because it developed into a cult classic. A sequel was kind of thrown around starting in 1999 and eventually came into being. So the reason why there is a story with multiple people is because screenwriters Brian Klugman and Lee Sternthal were approached first, I believe, it kind of gets muddled, the exact timeline, but I do believe that they were first approached. But then later, Horowitz and Kitsis were brought on, and they were big fans. And they really wanted to, expand on the world of Tron, but still pay homage to the original. But they knew that they had to take it out of the 80s and kind of update it for the times.
Right.
And then, of course, Joseph Kosinski was brought in to direct, and he brought his knowledge of architecture and really helped to develop the world out. And yeah, a lot of the stuff was shot practically, actually. They tried to shoot as much as they possibly could. And they actually shot the grid sequences in 3D and then the normal world sequences in 2D, which I thought was pretty interesting. I don't know if they released in 3D, but that was kind of the trend back then.
Yeah.
In like the 2010s.
2010, yeah. That's
exactly.
Perfect time for 3D. I remember going to the movies and getting 3D glasses for movies that didn't need it. Yeah.
like why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely the trend. I believe that the costumes too, the light up costumes were done practically as much as possible. So I believe that
the costumes are sick as hell.
They are amazing. Yeah, no, I think that there were like actual lights in the costume. So they wouldn't have to use, CGI for that. And then the grid was obviously redesigned. It was updated. It was made to look like the real world more. And there was, I believe, a conundrum of, how much do we change it? How do we still stay respectful? Which I feel like they did a good job of updating it. If you watch the original, there are a lot of, references to that, but they definitely made it look,
Yeah, it looks like the 2010s and like the futuristic idea of the 2010s.
Exactly.
Yeah. I thought the set was really cool. And I also looked up where they shot it, and it's Vancouver. Yeah, which I was kind of like, what is this perfect American city?
I know,
of course, it's Vancouver.
Of course, it's Canada.
I mean, Vancouver is... I have never been, but it's like there's a reason that they shoot so many American cities in like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal.
What can you say? They just look so much better.
Yeah, I was watching, and I was like, Chicago, New York, LA. I don't know.
And I was like, nah, I can't be. Yeah, I think it works well too because it's kind of hard to place. Yeah, so you don't know what city it's in specifically.
It's a very Sesevenin.
Yeah, exactly.
Vibe.
You're like, where the hell is this?
Yeah.
But then, of course, Daft Punk, who were big Tron fans, were highly influenced by the original. They were brought on to write the music. Kosinski actually said that in his meeting with them, he felt like he was being interviewed by them. Like they were interviewing him to make sure he was going to get the movie right, which I really liked. And I feel like you can see their passion for it, considering how amazing the music is.
And they're in it, too.
And they have a cameo in it. Yeah. Which I love. And when I was a kid, I didn't realize that was Daft Punk. But I remember to this day, I was like, they're so cool with those helmets. Like, that's the best part of the movie. So the film was released 2010. It got mixed reviews. A lot of people said, like, the general consensus was the movie looks great, the music is amazing, but the story and the acting are on the weaker side. It was a box office success. It made like 400 million, but it wasn't like a breakout success. And I think that's why for pretty much like 15 years, there was like, will there be a sequel? Will there not? Obviously, there is one coming out this year, Tron Ares.
Yeah, which I didn't realize it was like this year.
Yeah,
it's in October, I think.
In development for pretty much the movie was caught in development hell for 10 years.
Crazy.
Until, finally they got it underway in the 2020s. But
with Jared Leto, of course.
Yeah. Why is he in this movie?
Because he has big, beautiful blue eyes.
And he probably like drinks blood or something. Anyway, that's just the vibe I get from him, to be honest.
Yeah, he has allegations, I believe.
Probably. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Which I think that's why people don't like him. I mean, besides other things.
I mean, stuff he did on the Suicide Squad set is like, that's allegation
that
enough,
was like
I
think that was the first thing I learned about Jared Leto, like as a person, was that he mailed his feces to his co-star
and his used condoms and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I remember it was the shit mailing, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna watch that movie.
Ain't that fun?
Yeah,
but yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into this movie. Yeah. It's interesting. I have very mixed thoughts about this, which I didn't know was kind of the consensus, because I also agree. I kept thinking some of the acting, I was like, I don't know if it's the acting or if it's the writing, and I think it's both.
It's definitely a mix of both. Yeah.
I don't think this is necessary. It's not bad. And I didn't dislike this movie at all. It's just not like revolutionary.
I 100% agree with that. I think that ultimately the weakest point is the script.
I agree. I think, continue, but I have a like very specific thing that
No, yeah, to me, it does feel very much a bite the books, copy paste sort of story. This movie holds a very special place in my heart because I watched it as a kid. It was, I loved the design, all that kind of stuff. I think that I can kind of forgive the script for being so basic and being so predictable because of how beautiful this film looks, in terms of the visual effects. So I 100% agree that the script and the acting are the weakest parts. I do think that for me, like, I can forgive that quite easily because I watched as a kid. But obviously knowing that, it's like, that's, those elements are still very weak, and I 100% agree.
I think for me, the biggest problem I had is the combination of two things. I think it's Sam.
Yeah.
As written as a character, I did not like the way he was written.
He's very bland. But also kind of, I don't know.
It's very much it's Disney, I feel like. And that's what it is. Because I've noticed this on like ABC dramas as well, where it's like you have the like attractive white man with that haircut as your lead, and he's like a little bit edgy, but not in any way that's like actually edgy.
Yeah, he's like safe edgy.
Right. And I think that was my main problem with it, was that...
Which I can totally see.
I don't think he's a bad actor. I just don't know that he really had much to work with, or necessarily that was the right direction to take the character.
I will say he didn't have anything to work with, I feel like. And I feel like maybe some people watch this and say that he's a bad actor. I don't think he's a bad actor. I
haven't seen him in anything else. I can't say. But
I've seen him in a few things. He's fine. I think he's a solid actor. I just think he wasn't really given much to, do with.
Right. Which is interesting because it seemed like they took some risks on a lot of parts of the film. Yeah. But I feel like the screenplay, they just didn't take that many risks, and I wish they would have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel maybe that was partially Disney's involvement.
Right.
Because I could see a much, like a rated R version of this film.
Did they swear at all?
No.
Is this PG?
It is PG.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know
Which
that.
I'm like,
in,
I feel like
which
at least a PG-13.
I think PG-13 would kind of elevate it a little bit more.
Because I feel like there's so many moments in this film, like the disc wars and that kind of stuff, where it feels like, I don't know, it should be more brutal, but it isn't because it's a Disney movie. You know?
Which is interesting because like there are Disney movies that like get more like, gritty, I guess. And I was expecting more grit from this one, I will say.
No, that's definitely, I don't know, I feel like that's definitely Disney's effect on it. And to go back to the acting, kind of what we said about Sam and not being really, I don't know, I feel like not really having a character.
Yeah.
I feel like that also affects a lot of the other characters. And because of that, a lot of other people's performance. I love Jeff Bridges. He's a great actor. I feel like he's pretty weak in this film too, to be honest. Yeah. Like he gives a solid performance, but
he does. He's definitely better as Flynn.
He's 100% better as Flynn.
But than Clue. Yeah.
But I feel like he just wasn't given anything.
Yeah. I do think Alan was probably my favorite like side character, where I was
he was there.
Yeah, he felt like a developed character to me.
Yeah, and I will say I feel like part of the fact that's part of the fact that he was in the first Tron, so he has that background to bring into this film. I will say my favorite character is Zeus.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say Cora for me. I think is probably my favorite.
She is interesting. I also feel like she's kind of bland, to be honest.
She is, but she's in the way where it's like you have to like her, and I do. Like it's the Disney woman kind of,
No, which I totally get. And like, say what you will, I do feel like Olivia Wilde did give like a solid performance.
Yeah, I thought she was good.
But for me, Michael Sheen takes the cake because he's just so fun. Like, I don't know. I wish he was in the whole movie, to be honest. I wish he was the whole character. The main character of this movie.
Yeah, as he came on, I was kind of thinking about how it's interesting how a lot of like Disney villains are gay. Like, I don't know if he is, but like they play it up as like like I don't know how to say it in a way, but I know what I mean. I think it feels like almost like bordering on an offensive stereotype at sometimes, where it's like,
I feel like he saves it though.
Yeah, he does. He has a very good performance.
Yeah, and also you can't beat that Daft Punk.
The Daft Punk cameo and him telling them to play different music as they're fighting. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
I love the fact that you see them like nodding along to the music and stuff like that. Those little details. It's interesting how there is like the main villain and then like the side villain. Like going back to what you said about how he feels a little more, like that, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I feel like that's that was the trend for a long time in a lot of Disney movies, of having the main, like, just super antagonist villain and then the side villain like this.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And I have noticed that in like other like 90s and 2000s.
Yeah. I feel like it was a very prevalent sort of, way of having two villains.
Yeah, their trope.
Yeah. I did want to ask you though, what did you think of the design and the visual effects?
I really liked it.
Grid. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. That's besides the music, that's my favorite part of the film.
I think that's aside from the music, like we're not aside, but I think that the music and those elements are kind of what make the film.
The music is crazy.
The music is amazing. This is a soundtrack that I listen to. Like, I absolutely love the soundtrack. I think that is maybe the one flawless part of this movie.
Should have won an Oscar.
100% agree. When I say flawless, the visual effects are great.
I was going to say...
There's just one point that...
the de-aging?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to talk about that up. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say I agree that I think the visual effects are also flawless, because I feel like the de-aging is different to me. Like I guess
interesting.
Maybe I'm thinking more of like the set design combined with the effects of like making that kind of world.
No, so, I agree that is flawless. A lot of people have pointed to the de-aging as being really bad, which you can tell it's CGI 100%.
Yeah, it's not awful.
It's not awful for sure.
Yeah, it's better than I thought it would be.
For 2010.
Yeah.
I will say it kind of works for me because he is a program. Like, it kind of works for me in the sense of that he's like a copy of a person. So it's not really supposed to be flawless. Which, like, obviously in the world of the film, he is supposed to just look like Flynn.
Right.
But it does kind of work for me. But I can definitely see that, yes, it isn't perfect. So that's why I will say, like, it has aged a bit. But aside from that, I do think that the visual effects and the design of, the grid are really beautiful. I think they make the film. And same thing with the action. I think the way that they designed, the disc wars and the light cycle battles, I think that works very well. And that's probably the most engaging part of the whole film.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something that I know you'll get. I don't know if most of our audience will.
We'll see.
I didn't realize how much the Gravity Falls episode was was based on Tron.
100%.
Oh my God. I was watching it. I was like, oh my God, I've seen this before. But like, this is the original.
Glabenar.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And the games and the people and like some of the the shots as well. Much. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the Gravity Falls episode got it right, where the whole episode is just the fighting and stuff.
Yes.
Like the
and
part
it's also
in
Disney.
the grid. Well, yeah. But I'm just like...
They're allowed to.
That's what this film should have been. Just all discourse and light cycles.
I do agree. I do think the light cycles are very cool. And it'd be very interesting to ride one. Like when the trail behind it too is very cool. How it's like... That was one of my favorite parts. Like as they're going around on the... I don't even know what it is. The track that's like multi-level.
Yeah, multi-level.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite sequence of the whole film, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very mixed bag when it comes to a film. Again, for me, it holds a special place in my heart because I watched it as a kid. And I
could see how this would. This is one of those movies where it's like, if I watched this when I was like 9, I feel like it would be like,
this is amazing. This is awesome. Yeah.
This would be very important to me.
I will say, I don't know if this is controversial, but I do feel like this is one of those films where, the script and the acting don't have to be, that solid to enjoy it. Like, obviously, I wish they were stronger, but I'm still going to enjoy the film.
And I do get that, but that is also something that I've noticed with like a lot of sci-fi is where it's like, I feel like that's what people forget about almost. Like you're kind of like leaving the script and the acting out of it, where it's like, I want to, and I don't know if there will be a sci-fi film we watch, I assume, where it's like they got everything right.
There probably will, yeah. So, no, I mean, we'll watch Blade Runner and stuff like that, which I do feel like...
The first Blade Runner?
First and second.
Okay, because I've seen the first one. I didn't like it.
Well, okay, we're going to get into a discussion with Blade Runner because there are multiple versions.
That's true.
So it depends on which version.
I watched it in a film class, and I was like, wow, nothing happens. This is boring.
Was there voiceover?
I believe so.
That's the original theatrical cut, which is like seen as terrible.
Okay, interesting.
So we'll talk about that when we get there for sure.
Yeah, because I remember watching that one and I was like, wow, this is what everybody likes. Maybe I don't like sci-fi.
No, that I've heard it's really bad. I haven't seen the theatrical cut version, but honestly, I'd be up to watching it.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you rate this movie? I have an idea. I think you accidentally told me on Wednesday when I saw you.
Yeah. So I gave it a score. The thing is, that score is my nostalgia score.
That's fair. You don't have. I don't think you have to justify it.
Well, I wanted to say, if I was theoretically giving this a score, like taking my nostalgia out of it, it would be a 3.5. Which for me, when it comes to scoring films, it's a good film, but it does have some problems.
Is that the one where it's good with some flaws? Is that the description of it on your Letterboxd?
I gave it a 4 on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Which is
your right to do.
Yeah, and that's my nostalgia. This film just has a very special place in my heart. Just because it's like, I don't know, I grew up with it, even though I only watched it once before. So it's not like I really grew up with it, but it's like a childhood film of mine.
Yeah, it's something you have memories with.
But I will say, if I was approaching it from a purely theoretical standpoint, it would be like a 3.5 or maybe even a 3. But with my nostalgia, it goes up to a 4.
What do you think I'm going to rate it after all of this discussion?
I feel like you're going to give it like a 3 or a 2.5.
Interesting. Okay, this is a 3. I think this is the perfect encapsulation of a 3 film for me, where it gets some things like absolutely correct. There's parts of it that are just like, but it's still an enjoyable watch.
Yeah.
And I had fun the entire time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like looking at the time of like, oh my God, how much is left? Exactly. I was like engaged, but it wasn't like revolutionary or anything.
Like I totally agree with that. I think that is what this film is 100%.
Yeah. And for me, that's a 3. That's something where it's like, yeah, I liked it, but it's not going to change my life.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I don't know what I thought going into this. I don't know that I thought anything. I thought it was going to be like way more animated, I think. And there weren't going to be like a lot of real people in it at all.
I feel like it's kind of one of those films where it's harder to have like a cohesive thought going into it. Because, if you don't know what it's about.
Which I didn't.
Yeah. Then you're like, what is this? What is this Tron thing?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can totally see that. And also, I can't wait to watch the new one with Jared Leto. Incidentally, the day after I rewatched this film, the trailer came out.
Did you watch the trailer for the new one? Is it good? Does it look good?
It looks really good. From a visual standpoint, it looks really, really good.
Okay.
And the story sounds interesting because it is about
AI, right?
This Ares character going into the real world. So it's kind of like the opposite of Tron Legacy. So it sounds interesting. For me, I am kind of like, okay, it could be the same thing with this where the script is weak.
And our friends were talking also about like it could be a Disney movie where like
it could also be
like Disney as a negative, which I don't know. I don't hate Disney's stuff. I think they have some great things, but there are some times where it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
and I will say I do feel like that's a lot of the time.
I don't know. I haven't seen movies, so I can't tell you.
Well, I'm like, at least this isn't like their live action remakes,
Right. Yeah. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing it. I will say it does look good. That, then again, that doesn't speak to the story or the fact that Jared Leto's in it.
Right.
I did notice that they only show his face once in the entire trailer.
It's fun. Yeah. He's top billing too, which is crazy.
Yeah, I know. I would say the interesting thing for me is the fact that they're not bringing back Garrett Hedlund or Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like
they're bringing back
reboot.
Jeff Bridges, right?
He's in it. Yeah.
Are they bringing back
his voice in it?
Are they bringing back Bruce Boxleitner, however you say his name? Because I did not see him confirmed, which is interesting. Because he's still alive too.
Yeah, no, he is still alive. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be about. I don't know how they're going to like
work it into Tron.
Maybe retcon the last movie, or like how they're going to continue that story.
Because it says it's a standalone, but like it's in universe.
Yeah,
so.
it's like a continuation, but standalone.
Yeah.
But then I also read that it's like a soft reboot of the franchise, which like a soft reboot is they're not saying that the other movies don't exist. They're just kind of moving on from those.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what it's going to be like. I'll watch it.
I could see them going hard on this to get Tron stuff in Disneyland and Disney World, because I feel like that would be fun.
That would be fun. Well, they have a Tron ride actually,
right?
In I think Tokyo Disney and I almost said Universal, but Tokyo Disney and I think Disney World. And I've heard that ride is amazing. It's pretty much a light cycle ride.
Okay,
yeah. Which is like, that sounds amazing.
You know, I could see them trying to push this more so they can get more of those in the parks, because those, like, as an interactive franchise, I think you have a really, like, a lot of potential here, because it's really cool. And the visuals are amazing.
And the trailer, the main focus of it is the light cycles in the real world. And it does look great. Okay. I highly recommend that you watch the trailer.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm curious. I might be bought in a little bit.
I will also say the poster for the sequel looks awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. I am also hopeful that it kind of does well, because this is kind of like a tangent. And I know a lot of you people that haven't been to Disneyland won't really know what I'm saying, but the Tomorrowland area in Disneyland has needed a reboot for the past like 30 years. And I know like people have mentioned like, oh, they should bring Tron there. And I 100% agree. And I think a Tomorrowland with a Tron ride and the Tron aesthetics would be pretty amazing.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
So that's why I'm also kind of hopeful that it is successful. So then Disney wakes up and is like, wow, maybe you should like actually put some work into Disneyland for once.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I would say definitely this movie is worth a watch to anyone who's interested 100%. About it. It's not going to change your life, but I think it's enjoyable. Yeah. And you know, that's a good type of movie that I like.
I 100% agree.
I like to enjoy myself.
And I will say this is the perfect movie to watch when you just want to relax and not have to think. This is the movie for that. If you want just, a little bit of action.
It's not fun. Like super high stakes. You're never like freaking out like, oh my God, they're not going to make it,
And also if you want to hear some amazing Daft Punk music.
And look at some amazing costumes.
Exactly.
And visual effects and set design and all of that stuff.
And just ignore some of the acting. That's all.
Yeah. That's all right.
It's fine.
But yeah, I think that's where we'll leave it.
On that note, follow us on Instagram.
Send us an email.
Yep. upcpod@gmail.com. Leave a comment.
Yeah, leave a comment, leave a review. You can do 5 stars on Spotify if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. Exactly. You can also like type up a review.
Yeah.
So, hey.
And send us any suggestions you have. We started this a while ago at this point, but we're also announcing our episodes on Instagram. So if you want to see what the next episode is going to be about, go check it out there. Yes. If you want to watch and listen to the album before you listen to the episode. So yeah, see you next week.
See ya.